So far on this channel, I've pretty much just shared a lot of stuff that's pretty universally agreed upon among growers and extractors. In this video though, I'm going to take a stance that in today's solventless extraction scene is probably going to be more than a little bit controversial. Welcome to Full Melt Extractions. My name is David, and if you're a solventless extractor or you want to learn to be one, I'm here to help you gain the knowledge you need to elevate your craft to the next level. To that end, and I know this is a weird request, and I'm sure many of you already are, but for those that aren't, I'd like you to pause the video, click on the link in the description, which will take you to Bubbleman's World YouTube channel. Subscribe to that channel, and then click back to this video. Now, this is not me thinking Bubbleman needs the help of my tiny channel getting subscribers, but rather that I feel I would be remiss in my promise of helping you gain the knowledge you need to elevate your craft to the next level without turning you on to the resource that basically made me the extractor that I am today. Don't just stop at subscribing to the channel either. If you really care about becoming a better extractor, watch and rewatch all his videos related to any extraction techniques you're interested in, whether that be bubble hash, dry sift, or rosin. With all that being said, there may be more resources on this channel than you're aware of as well. Also in the description is a link to a playlist of unlisted videos where I share my entire bubble hash method from harvesting and processing to extraction to drying, along with a link to a free PDF manual that goes with that video series. I've mentioned these things in a couple other videos, but I realized a lot of people have subscribed since those videos and may not have watched the whole back catalog yet. Getting back to the topic of this video, I'm just going to come out and say it. Full melt hash is better than rosin, even the rosin squished from that same hash. True 5 to 6 star full melt live bubble hash, that's hash made from fresh frozen material, hits harder, tastes better, and when given a proper full 2-week air dry with some curing time in the jar afterward, it's a smoother dab as well. Even the cleanup, generally people's biggest gripe with it, especially when we're talking 6 star, it's only marginally different at best. An interaction I had recently with Bubbleman is actually the inspiration for the topic of this video. He was doing a live stream with some friends overseas the other day, and he was talking to them about preferring air-dried full melt over freeze-dried rosin, trying to explain to them that despite the trends currently, when properly done, he felt the old-school methods made the best product. I made an offhand comment in the chat, something like, "You'll pretty much never see rosin from my full melt. If it's full melt, why would I press rosin out of it?" And he really keyed in on that point and emphasized it. To me, it had just been an offhand observation, but he made me realize that not everyone realizes that difference. Especially in the last few years, there's been such a huge focus on rosin production and the Persy rosin trend now being a thing that I honestly think a lot of people are sleeping on the quality of the 5 to 6 star full melt fresh frozen hash. I personally had only rarely tried anything that had come out of a freeze dryer, so to this point I hadn't had much of an opinion. But I had previously had the experience of meeting with another solventless extractor who uses a freeze dryer, but told me they preferred my air-dried full melt to any other extract style. Now, with the Bubbleman himself confirming this, I felt it was something I should also emphasize and bring to the attention of people that I was trying to inform on the subject, what at least in my opinion, the true Persys are. As I mentioned, I've been watching Bubbleman for years. Actually, sometime in the early 2000s was when he was first brought to my attention. I want to say it was about 2003. My little brother had bought a set of bubble bags, which is how he found out about Bubbleman. And even though the Bubbleman's World YouTube channel, and indeed YouTube itself, wasn't a thing yet, he had managed to find a video of Bubbleman in a compassion club in BC making some half-melt bubble hash out of some dried, cured product. I remember thinking the bags in the video were cool, but I wasn't honestly terribly captivated by the whole process at the time. I had yet to start growing cannabis, and given that fresh frozen wasn't really a thing yet at that time, and my brother used a drill and a paddle on dried material with no pre-soak, and so wasn't even achieving the half melt that we saw in that video, there honestly wasn't much to be impressed by. Fast forward a decade, and I had now moved to a legal state and begun growing my own medicinal cannabis. I did have people making bubble hash around me, but again, it was poorly made product from people who just didn't understand solventless extraction principles. I wanted something higher quality, which I saw hydrocarbon extracts as being. I began open blasting BHO, learning to purge and then eventually to winterize the extract with a secondary solvent, specifically ethanol. I never blew myself up or lit myself on fire, fortunately, and I feel like I made some pretty decent extract as far as hydrocarbon extracts go once I got the hang of things. But then came the game changer. I rediscovered Bubbleman. About a year prior to me finding him again, he had done a whole series of over a dozen videos breaking down his entire bubble hash method. I was instantly captivated and devoured all this information voraciously, watching every video several times. Around this time was when he began the Hash Church podcast. One of his guests, Phil Soil Grown Salazar, had accidentally stumbled upon a new extraction technique called Rosin, and now we could make fully dabbable melt from almost any quality of hash, and even flour. So I ordered a set of bubble bags and a mini washer from Bubble Man and a rosin plate kit from a company called New Vape. I was all in on solventless. But even despite all that, when Bubble Man would talk about how you just don't understand, when you try full melt bubble hash, you're going to see it's the best extract you ever tried. It's going to blow everything else out of the water that you've ever had in the past. And I just remember thinking, bro, I love your energy. I love your delivery. I love the information that you're sharing and how you're sharing it. But I mean, come on. Cannabinoids are cannabinoids, however you get them. Right? I've tried like 90+% dabs. How different could it be? I mean, yeah, he's saying full melt is the best, but he's literally the bubble man. Of course he's going to talk up full melt bubble. Regardless, I eagerly awaited my bubble bags and washing machine in the mail. I had some Super Silver Sour Diesel Haze whole plant I had chopped up and put in the freezer. It was just a small one, about 250 grams or so of fresh frozen material, only about a 2-ounce plant if it were trimmed and dried. My equipment arrived, and I got to work putting the principles that Bubble Man had showed me into practice. And only 2 washes later, I had netted over a ½ ounce of ridiculous full melt from my 250 grams, with there being an over 7-gram yield of 5 to 6 star full melt in the 120 bag on the first wash. I'm convinced I could have pulled hash for another wash or 2 beyond that, but even on just 2 washes, I had vastly exceeded my expectations. As I fresh sieved it evenly into parchment-lined pizza boxes, I knew for the best experience I was supposed to wait 2 weeks for it to properly dry, but I just couldn't wait that long. After only a day went by, I had to try a small sample. So I finger-pressed out a small blob, heated up my tie nail, dropped the dab, capped it off, and went in. Right away, I noticed how much more true to the flavor of the plant it was than any solvent-based extract I'd ever made or tried. The smell when the plant was growing and when I was doing the extraction was the exact flavor I was tasting. At the same time, I started feeling those effects that I hadn't felt in some time, similar to when I first started partaking in cannabis. Warmth in the back of my head, spreading around to my temples, then to the forehead. And I just remember thinking to myself, son of a bitch. He was right. And then I immediately took my glass VHO blasting tube out to the street and smashed it into 1,000 pieces on the concrete, which admittedly was kind of poorly thought out. Don't do that, because I spent the next 15 minutes cleaning glass off the street. But regardless, knowing I could turn out this quality, I was done with solvent-based extractions. I went single-source solventless whole plant, and I didn't look back. Over time, I experimented with pressing hash rosin out of my full melt a few times, and the end product was always great quality, wonderful to dab, and beautiful to look at. But ultimately, I just saw no benefit to pressing anything 5 stars or above into rosin. In the end, rosin became relegated to a technique to get dabs out of my lower melt hash, or occasionally flour. If I had to describe the difference between true top quality bubble hash and the rosin pressed from that same bubble hash, the rosin, it's more one-dimensional. You know, it's like the difference between looking at a scene laid out there, IRL, right in front of you, versus looking at a picture of that same scene. A really amazing, high-def, beautiful picture, but a picture nonetheless. The fullness and the richness of the experience of actually being there just isn't quite present, no matter how good the picture is. Similarly, I just feel like there's something missing when I dab rosin versus when I dab that same bubble that rosin came from. Assuming we're talking about very good 5 to 6 star bubble, anything less melty than that, and yeah, I'll likely be pressing rosin out of it. That's where there starts to be enough contaminant that filtering it out with that rosin process actually improves the experience, despite the other things that you may lose. And to be clear, I don't know what those are, but it's something. And it's something that in the case of very high quality hash, changes the experience and not for the better in my opinion. It's the reason why, rather than the industry standard of whole plant to rosin yield, I came up with the YFM metric I shared in the last video. It just makes no sense to me to alter a product that I already feel is in an ideal state. If you've tried both and you feel rosin is better, that's fine. I'm not trying to convince anyone to change their tastes here, but at the same time, don't just assume that what's trendy is what you're going to like best. Before you consign your whole output to one method, try both and decide for yourself. I strongly suspect a lot of you will have the same experience I did once you do. I'm sure people might have a lot to say on this topic. Bring it on. Let's hash it out in the comments section, y'all. Also, the forums are admittedly a ghost town over there at the moment, but I am trying to build community over at fullmeltextractions.com. And so I will give special priority, as well as the most detailed responses to people who post on the forums and blogs over there. If you want to support this channel and my mission, that's about one of the best ways that you can do it. Thanks for watching. This has been David with Full Melt Extractions, reminding you to keep up that passion for the hashing. Happy hashing.